debt compared to GDP in those countries, including Norway. And what you can see is this trend from a very low level, rising substantially, reaching a peak after the crisis for those countries that had a crisis back in 2008, and then falling. Norway is one of the countries that continued borrowing money. So its debt level is now about 245% of GDP. Now, I can get away with that debt level to some extent because it runs a trade surplus. Okay? There's a way in which a trade surplus balances the impact of a high level of private debt, because there's three ways you can create money. Okay? Banks can lend out more than they get back in repayments. The government can spend more than it taxes, and you can export more than you import. All three ways to create money. One, the banks are literally creating it into your private bank account. The second, the government is putting more money into your account via spending than it's taking out via tax. And the third is, if you run an export surplus, you present foreign currency to your central bank that credits you with the equivalent in domestic currency in your account and hangs onto those foreign reserves as money, as its own reserves. So if you're running a trade surplus like Germany is doing, of 10% of GDP, then that much money is ending up in the firm sector, created by its exports. It doesn't need to borrow money to finance investment. It's getting it from its export surplus. Okay? Same for the household sector. So you look at Germany's data, and I can't show you because of the bad internet connection here, but Germany's had a declining level of private debt to GDP for the last 15 years because it's had such a rising export surplus. It's more than compensated, so both the government's been running a surplus and so the household sector, which they can do because the foreign sector's provided them with the money. So that's the world we're in. And I want to cover, we're supposed to finish at 4 o'clock, aren't we? Yes. You handle a bit longer and then leave it at that?